Cristobal has come in, and we've kind of hinted about it a little bit, that he is the legacy. He knows the lay of the land. He understands what it takes to win at that university. They're opening up the wallets. Isn't it fair to say then that with everything he's been given at this point, if Miami doesn't keep every single blue chip athlete in South Florida now, they've got everything. They've got the coach who's there. They're hiring the coaches. The AD is right. The money's being spent. If you let one player get out of South Florida right now and get away from the University of Miami, who's a top 20 rated player, top 100 rated player, you ought to be fired right there. There's no reason to lose them now, yes?
No, I some of the reasons that Joey and Sam alluded to, man, the competition is fierce. It's no longer that exclusive cool kids club that used to belong to Miami and obviously with Florida State and Florida for a while. And I was there. I was in Miami when I saw during the state of Miami and
right.
Howard's deal, and it was cool to go to Miami. There was that vibe that these guys they changed the dynamics. They changed it. It was a game changer in terms of how college football was perceived, and they went and beat the big boy powerhouse in Nebraska, and boy, that was a seismic shift. So, but I don't think, like Sam alluded to, I just don't see the landscape of college football being in that position where that opportunity is going to exist now. They caught lightning in a bottle to some extent, and there were a lot of factors that came into their favor. Miami was cool. They kept the athletes. They kept the Melvin Brattons, the Highsmiths, and all those guys. But now there's just too much competition out there. However cool Cristobal is, he's going to have to work harder to sell Miami cool to all of these top recruits.
And Miami's a different job. It always has been, and I think that's another reason why they hired Mario Cristobal. There may not be another job like it in America. You're in a pro town. You're lucky if you get half the stadium full, yet you're under intense scrutiny and pressure, even though you don't sell out the games. You're in a international city that's not Gainesville or Tallahassee or Ann Arbor or Columbus, Ohio. It is a highly unusual place. You can do special things there, but you've got to understand the landscape. It's different than the normal college football job.
Well, yeah, and then remember what you're talking about here. This is a private university at the end of the day. Florida State and Florida are getting state money that is shoveled their way. Miami has the multi-billion-dollar donors and the people who sit around there and cough up cash. They have a medical pavilion and a medical school that makes them a tremendous amount of money these days. So that all came down into the argument when people were talking about whether or not they'd be able to even get Cristobal. People were going, and I know good friends of mine inside the university were going, oh, we can't afford this. And it was like I was screaming. I was yelling across the phone. I'm going, bullshit. You've got just as much money as anybody else, but they just didn't want to spend it. So at the end of the day, it is all about the money, period, end of story.
Let me say one more thing, Ed, if you don't mind.
No, absolutely. That's what this show is for, Sam.
But said I was so critical of Miami. My youngest daughter is a law school graduate from the University of Miami. So it's not like I'm unfamiliar with Miami. She lived right on Red Road. We spent a lot of time on campus and a lot of time around the university. And she had a wonderful experience there. And now she's, very successful lawyer. So
I think it's going to be very interesting now in this conversation that we just had to find out between those three big schools. Because, look, I don't want to make anybody unhappy here, but Bethune-Cookman, FIU, FAU, USF, UCF, you're not going to contend first. Stop. Let's be real honest. It's going to be one of these three schools because of the money that's here, and to see which one is able to break out and become that national championship contender first. I can find a reason for each school, and I can find a reason not for every single school at this point. And a lot of it is, quite frankly, what's happened is the rest of the nation is caught up. End of story. I mean, that's the biggest thing.
That's right. Think back to these players. Derek Brown, Merritt Island, went to Notre Dame. Anthony Carter went to
Michigan,
right? I was thinking, Then he went to play for the Michigan Panthers too, didn't he?
Right. Yeah.
In the USFL. So, that doesn't happen any longer. although Urban tried to recruit the state of Florida and got a few players out of here, my alma mater, the University of Maryland, although I played at Clemson my freshman year, and the whole thing about that is if you've got to win your home state first, and whoever does that in the state of Florida is light years ahead of everybody else just right out of the gate.
Yeah, see, I think that battle's going to come down between Florida and Miami. I understand that Florida State has got something cooking there right now, but it's almost as if Florida State is kind of like the quiet child. It's like, okay, well, we'll get things done. I don't see them making a huge splash at this point, and certainly not with Miami and Florida getting new coaches. One of the funniest things I saw was and heard was a member of the press, if you will, but it's a blogger who works for one of the websites who covers one of the schools, and wrote and said, Florida and Florida State better start shaking in their boots now that Mario Cristobal is the head coach at Miami. And I'm thinking, stop with this nonsense. Nobody's shaking. Look, they all have their recruiting manner, the way they do it. They're all set. Yeah, they're going to lose a kid here or two there. Somebody's going to go through the transfer portal. But I don't see anybody in Gainesville and Tallahassee being scared of Mario Cristobal, at least not right now. Or am I underestimating?
No, you're not under. No, I don't. We've talked about this. It's just there's just far too much competition, and I don't think one man is going to go in there and all of a sudden the pixie dust, sprinkles pixie dust in a team that's gone from being a little bit better than mediocre becomes a national power overnight. Not going to happen. And Joey raised a good point about the whole recruiting pitch. Do you really want to play in front of 30,000 people on one of these nondescript ACC games that they have where they don't draw the big power? Miami has, and once again, we've lived through this many years, Ed, that Miami just is a very, very quirky town when it comes to that fan base. And the Heat, the Dolphins, the Hurricanes, they all suffer from that same thing, that there sure is a lot of stuff going on in Miami, and maybe we'll go to a football game.
I think you know what, for all the state schools, I think, okay, you look at Florida, the high point when Spurrier came in, when the Gators dominated the SEC. All right, Florida State, the high point, Bowden, whatever it was, 17 years, 15 years in the top 4 or 5 consecutive, and Miami winning 4 to 5 national championships. Those are all the high points. I think each of those schools is capable of competing on a national level. I do not think for all of those high points at all those schools we will ever see that again. Florida State, and Miami, what they have done at their height, I think that is just something that's going to live hundreds of years from now if the earth still exists, and we'll never see it again.